Former Teen Mom 2 star Kail Lowry has opened up about her fears of finding herself in poverty yet again. So, as you're aware, since we've watched this show, Kail grew up in poverty. Her mother was an alcoholic. Her father was a deadbeat who didn't want anything to do with raising her. And so she was kind of just bouncing around from house to house, being fed and helped by her classmates and her boyfriends as well, right? Before she landed a spot on 16 and Pregnant and eventually Teen Mom, changing the course of her life pretty much overnight. And so ever since she left the show, Kail has been hard at work running her podcasting empire. It all started with the Coffee Convos podcast that she was approached to do by Lindsay Chrisley of the Chrisley Knows Best family. And then after that, she was approached by her inaugural baby daddy, Joe Rivera's wife, V. Rivera, for another podcast called Baby Mama's No Drama, where they were supposed to talk about co-parenting and, a sort of friendship amidst the chaos. And then after that, she launched her Barely Famous podcast and then eventually launched an entire podcasting network where she manages about 5 podcasts in total. So she's got quite a lot on her plate. She's all about her money, right? And I think that's a really smart thing. When you're in such a precarious line of work or business or whatever, you have to make sure that you're being very smart with your money, that you're making investments, and that you are diversifying your income. You cannot depend on solely one stream of income in her world, right? So she did this interview with a Business Insider about how she grew up poor, and even though she has all this money, she just feels, first of all, like an imposter. Like she doesn't understand why people, even listen to anything she has to say. And she feels like any day now, people are just going to stop listening to her. And then all of that money is going to go away. She also talked about how she struggled with her taxes at first when she first started making real money on the Teen Mom franchise. She said that one time she didn't pay any taxes. And then the following year, she had to use the money from that year, to pay off the tax bill. So quite a few of these ladies from the Teen Mom franchise have struggled with the tax man over the years, as we're all very well aware. There's Kail now stepping into the ring to out herself. We've heard about Macy. Macy still has a lot of tax debt. Caitlin and Tyler, Leah Messer as well. The list kind of does go on. However, Kail says that she learned very early from that mistake. Her friends set her up with a financial advisor, and so now she's pretty much good. However, even though she has a financial advisor, she really doesn't like to go and look at her finances. Something about it still just is very triggering for her, which I think is understandable, right? Like it sucks looking at how much you got coming in, how much you're spending, what you need to do this with, that with, like, oh God, leave me alone. Responsibility, hate it. And I'm speaking for myself. I talked about this. I read actually the entire article for my channel members. So you guys could sign up for a channel membership if you would like to, go over the full article over there. But I will kind of paraphrase it for you guys here in today's morning report, of course. So Kail says that she knew that shows with MTV wouldn't last forever. So she wanted to strike while the iron is hot, which is why she got into the whole podcasting thing. She says that podcasting has given her the ability to step outside of the MTV realm, but it doesn't really give me a sense of security. Podcasting is so new. What if it disappears as quickly as it came? What comes after podcasting? And what if no one cares what I have to say? Listen, I think that that's just how life goes. Like I've been talking about this since I started making content here on YouTube, which is that, when I used to work like a secure job, right? Like in marketing communications in the tech world, I went through 2 layoffs within like 5 years, like back to back. So like there is no guarantee as far as work goes, right? Even if you're in the government, for example, where I'm from in Canada, they were planning to lay off like 70,000 people or something like that. Like there's always layoffs. There's always a possibility that you lose your job, whether you have a corporate job or whether you have a business, right? So like I get her anxiety and stuff, but I think she's been very smart about diversifying her income as much as possible, because even if podcasting does go away, Kail does not only make money during doing the podcasting, right? She's got books. She does these live shows. She also does affiliate marketing on Instagram. She also has sponsorships on TikTok. So, that's just one piece of the pie. Right. And I think that the message overall should be for people to diversify their income, no matter what it is that they do for work, because Anybody at any given time can lose their job or business. Just saying. Ali says she's better off managing podcasts than having one, right? Well, you know what? Listen, I just want her to go back to spilling the tea. Ever since Javi told about that like new boyfriend of hers and then Chris corroborated it and add some more tea, she's been talking about nothing. They're just ranting about nothing. I know like a couple of weeks ago, she was body shaming her daughter. Do y'all remember that? That podcast episode was so freaking weird. She's like, I hope my daughter's not built like me. People are already telling me that she's going to be like big boned like me. I was like, girl, how old is your daughter? Like 1 year old and we're already like talking like this? And she's like, yeah, and she's knock-kneed or bow-legged. That was it. She's like, and she's bow-legged. Girl, right? Like anything to avoid discussing the actual issues that people are interested in hearing about in her life. Bree says, well, I'm not shocked she would go broke with all those lawyers. And that is in reference to how Kail famously bragged that she's got about 4 lawyers on retainer at all times. That ain't cheap, boo. Gwen says, I related to Kail in those early days. I bounced between houses and all through college. I had such an awesome village looking out for me. Oh, I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm so happy that you had that village to pick you up and proud that you had that motivation to go to college, given those circumstances, right? Like that's incredible that you were fighting so freaking hard for your future, Gwen. And look at the payoff. Look at the payoff, right? Like, yes, girl, love that for you. OMG says, hey, Grace. Hey, everybody. Hey, boo. Happy Friday. Hope you have a good weekend planned. Becky says, yes, because people only listen to you for your mess. At least she knows it. Exactly. And she needs to come back and give us that mess again. Like, I don't want to hear the gossip about, your kids or whatever. I want to hear you talk about you and that new man you've got that you're refusing to deny. She never came out and said that Javi was lying. Just saying. And apparently there's been even more proof that man really did move or, really is still in the picture or that the kids have met him. Remember, it came out that she had hung a photo of him in that house. Girl. Tyrell says, I was born struggling week to week and have been given so many knocks, got myself to middle class, but I'm working poor now. And I'm so sorry, Tyrell. Keep grinding, and hopefully you'll be able to bounce back. By the way, how is your move going? I remember you moved recently. Is everything going okay with your new place? Tosh says, out of the bushes today. Bush Squad, stand up. My Bush Squad is representing today, and I love that. Hey, Bush people. Thank you. I love that. Thank you, Tosh. Thank you. Welcome from the bushes, boo. Sue says, I remember when Kail had that pothead hair care. Exactly. She has a lot, and she's still a very creative person. And, maybe like this flair for managing podcasts can transfer into managing other things, right? And she could always get an office job eventually if push comes to shove. However, and people are always suggesting this for these girls, get an office job, babes. How much are people making at these office jobs typically, especially entry, because these girls would be entry. Do you think seriously that the amount of money that she would make entry level or whatever, early level at a corporate job is going to be enough to pay for her lifestyle? Look at the size of her house. Look at the number of children. Look at the amount of vacations. Look at the amount of cars. Look at the live-in staff, right? She even has people to do her damn laundry. The corporate job is not going to finance that, right? Like we got to be real here. The corporate job is not going to finance that. That's going to eat her entire day. And it's going to make her less than she makes with all of these different income streams she has. She just has to continue to what is the word? She needs to continue to diversify her income stream. Paprika says, and then, if she does do the corporate job, she'll have to downsize like crazy. Paprika says, I wish she had not had a girl. What she said was terrible. I was so shocked. You waited so long. You pushed out 6 boys to have 1 girl just for that to be the child that you go online and body shame. Crazy. I was like, am I listening to, speaking of, am I hearing this correctly? Did you guys see the trailer for the new season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Lisa Barlow called Bronwyn. Bronwyn's the one married to that older man, much older man. He looks like he could be her father. They were fighting. Do you know what Lisa Barlow said to her? You gout sucker. I was like, there's no way she said that. What? And she said that. So I don't know why this led to this, but I was just so stunned. It came out yesterday and I'm still gagged about it. Alice says, if you have to have that many lawyers, what are you hiding, right? NDA. She wants to make sure that she has lots of NDAs drafted up at all times for those baby daddies. And mind you, she wants to become a lawyer herself. Right. And so maybe that's going to help her kind of cut down on her legal fees. I don't know. Right. Winnie the Cat says state positions start around 46K. Right. So look at that. 46K. Will it pay for a mansion that big? Can you support 7 children on your own and afford to trick off on those random men? Right. Like she has to set aside money for her sugar babies. You know, all these things that Kail does, she would not be able to afford it on a regular income. So being an entrepreneur is the best thing for her. You know, that's how she's making the most of her time and her star power right now. Kate says she'd have no paycheck. Exactly. Paying for benefits. Exactly. For the kids alone. Right. And I do agree, OMG, that she does need to rein in the spending. One thing about Kail, I don't understand how she's able to spend so much. All these kids. And she still claims that she has like $1 million set aside per kid. And then she's still able to pay for all this stuff. Like, really? I don't know. I feel like she kind of exaggerates her income and her lifestyle, to be honest with you guys. Listen, there's something in the buttermilk that ain't clean about her spending. Do I think she's a millionaire? Yeah, absolutely. But I also think that some of it might be exaggerated, but I digress. Get ready. Buckle up for that new season of Salt Lake City. Those girls are wild. That is going to be brutal, right? Truly, truly brutal season. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. So the hair care line, Kate, it wasn't selling as well as she thought. She got like a PPP loan, I think, during the pandemic, got that money, pocketed it, then shut down the business. So I think she was kind of low-key scamming the government. Allegedly, I think, in my humble opinion. Winnie the Cat says, I can hardly support 3 kids on that salary. Groceries are expensive. Exactly. It is hard out here, and it only gets harder and harder every single year. And that is the goal. The whole goal of, it feels like more than ever, these governments is to keep people poor, right? The things that you used to be spending X amount for now cost double, yet they give you less. When you look at how much, for example, this is my vitamin D. Right. How many? I have 400 tablets. Let's say this costs $10. Next year, this is going to cost $15. And instead of 400 tablets, guess how many will be in it? 25. That's an exaggeration, but that's what's really happening with the shrinkflation and everything, right? It's crazy, right? And I agree, Bray, like she needs to stop. But that's the thing. Kail is not going to have a man unless she's paying for that man. Right? Look at her situation. Look at what reasonable man. And Kail likes a child-free man. So what reasonable, good-looking, in decent shape, child-free man is going to get involved with Kail if there isn't a financial benefit to it, right? Chris, her most beloved baby daddy, he went on the record and said, listen, I was really enjoying how she was tricking off on me. She was sending me on trips. She was allowing my friend to be sent on trips with me. She was buying us designer dogs for me and him. Like she does this stuff, right? And she on the podcast as well was talking about how she would have bought him the newest BMW, like IA, and sucked his toes if he told her to, right? And then we also heard that she is moving this new guy up to her house and that she had already, it looked like she had hooked him up with like a Jeep or something like that. Maybe she at least leased it for him. Like Kail is, she's a trick, right? And she's 46K is probably the budget that she gives to trick off on her man. She cannot use that for her actual lifestyle. Steph says Kail just needs to move all the men into one house and claim them on her taxes. You know what she should do then? She needs to buy that house from Elijah and then use it as her like harem house for all of those baby daddies of hers, or like, her entire like man roster. Because listen, one thing about Kail is she always keeps a man on deck. That new guy that she's with, he is not the only one, I imagine, just like Elijah wasn't the only man. She had this guy waiting in the cut during her relationship to Elijah. It is not possible that you're claiming that you're in the most loving, healthy, secure relationship of your life. You were so freaking in love, right? In March. Then the news breaks that your man is cheating on you. And then a week later, you're already like publicly fawning over another man. Like she's been seeing that man since before she and Elijah broke up. I still think that she and Elijah were a farce. They had to like force this like relationship. There was no chemistry. She had no respect or admiration for him. She still talked so much all the time about how Chris was the best sex, Chris was the deepest love, all this stuff, while supposedly engaged or in love with Elijah. Please give me a freaking break. So, it doesn't surprise me that she moved on so quickly, or potentially while she was still in a relationship with that guy, because she was never in love with that guy at all, right? And even that engagement ring. Look, did you hear about the engagement story? Listen, y'all got me on a rant. Let me tell you about that engagement story. She talked about it on the podcast. She said basically she was in the bathroom, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I remember it. She was saying something like she was in the bathroom, like doing her makeup, getting ready for the day, and then in comes Elijah with a box like, here, will you marry me type thing. Like nothing romantic, no nothing. And then she's like, yeah, I guess. And that was it. And so she starts wearing this ring. And then like 2 months later, the ring is already broken. I'm like, what kind of ring pops thing is that? Like your engagement ring breaks in like a month or two? That's crazy. That's crazy, So anyway, I say all this to say, why am I saying this? I can't remember. But anyway, good luck, Kail. Listen, you're not going broke. You just need to stop having babies, and you need to stop tricking off on those men. But I do understand that that's the only way you're going to get these men for now, right? So maybe just, I don't know, take them to Walmart or something like that. You can't just be taking them all to these luxury places, right? You can't be buying them Rolexes. Didn't she buy Elijah a Rolex? Wasn't the chick from the cruise showing off a Rolex? You can't be buying them that stuff. Buy him a Fossil watch. Don't buy a designer French bulldog. Go adopt something at the SPCA for like $20. Like get him a gecko. Like she needs to start thinking a little bit wisely about what it is that she's spending. And mind you, listen, she's got her kids making money on the gram and everything like that. I don't think she'd go this Kim Zolciak route, right? And take the money or anything like that. But however, she's good. Kail, you're going to be fine. I think this is kind of like a soundbite for the article, right? When he says, I think Javi's proposal was one of the best. What was his proposal again? Someone remind me. I can't remember. Yeah, it was a sign. The ring was as broken as that relationship. Steph says, I need a play-by-play with how it went down with Elijah. Like, how soon did they get it on? Well, she said, like, how soon did they, like, she sleep with him and get pregnant by him? She said she got pregnant on the first night. Miss, I'm so infertile. I had to get pregnant by Chris. My doctor wrote me a prescription because he said I had 12 more months to get pregnant, or else I'd never get pregnant again in my life. Do you all remember that tale that she was trying to spin about that man and that pregnancy? Please. So anyway, that they broke up, blah, blah. And so she's at her house. She's on the podcast, constantly talking about hot neighbor, hot neighbor, hot neighbor. And then before you know it, she sleeps with hot neighbor and she's knocked up, AKA she let him hit it raw. Listen, I'm sorry, Kail, but I'm really worried about the state of your coochie. The way you're letting everybody hit this raw. Like, how are you letting your neighbor hit it raw, babe? That's crazy. And you've already got all these kids. How many? She had 4 at the time, 4 kids. 2 of them were super young. And you're letting this random man from up the street hit it raw. Not only hit it raw, but shoot up your club. And you know how babies work. Like, that's so insane to me. Truly, truly insane. I will never be able to wrap my mind around that. Like, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Listen, Gwen. And you know what? Get it on Black Friday. Because that's crazy, right? That's crazy. She's spending too much. If you want to spend on these men, go ahead. Spend. But spend wisely. Do the cheaper version of the things that you want to get for them. Because no way. But again, listen, when you come, now 7 kids, 4 baby daddies deep, you're going to have to open up your purse. When he says he took Isaac to the river, he dressed him up super nice and had Isaac hold flowers. Oh, that's so cute. That's cute. I love when they involve the kids, except when Jalen involved Leah's daughters, the child brides. He got them all matching engagement rings and proposed to them too. That was creepy as hell. Truly creepy. You don't see any of these men proposing to the sons, but when it comes to the daughters, creepy stuff happening there. Carly said, I don't think he's a creep, but I think that was just the optics were really weird. I was not a fan of that guy or that proposal at all. Carly says, also get that man a Swatch. Yes, exactly. Not a damn Rolex. No D's are not worthy so soon. Kail, come on. Exactly. And she wasn't even in love with this man. She kept on pining over Chris, and she's spending that kind of money on Elijah. What? When he says, at this point, it's got to be like the Grand Canyon down there. Damn. Well, no, I don't think so. But it's just, for me, it's more like illness related. that I'm worried about. You know, you cannot, seriously, you guys, you cannot be letting just anybody have a raw intercourse with you. It is dangerous. There's a lot of illnesses circulating, right? Like, don't do it. You have to get tested together, right? Make sure, because some people, they'll try to pull up some results from like a year ago. They'll be like, oh yeah, I got tested last year. Do you want to see my results? How many people did you shag between now and last year, right? Please, right? Please. Craziness, absolute craziness. And yeah, that's what I was thinking, Raven. When Chris was going on his rant, I was like, really? You had 2 kids by her? Shut up, shut up, shut up. It's true. What do you want from me? It's true. Anyway, you guys, I am truly melting here. Oh my God, I am melting. I have the fan running, but I am melting. Oh my God. I'm going to have to go get ice cream to cure this.